Hello and spooky greetings to you all. In this video, I will be presenting you with 3 lesser known haunted spots in the UK, and hopefully some you may have never heard of. So let's get straight into it. Newtown Park Hospital in Merseyside, Liverpool, was once a magnificent Grade 2 listed building. The hospital was built with the original intention of being an orphanage for the children of missing or dead British sailors. In 1869, a group of sailors gathered money together and commissioned the building of the orphanage as a way to help sailors' widows and their families. With the outbreak of the First and Second World Wars, however, the orphanage found itself having difficulties, and the advance in other cheaper care facilities for orphans meant that the orphanage closed on 27th of July 1949. The premises then became a hospital in 1954 when it was sold to the Ministry of Health. The hospital developed its own psychiatric department and took in a large number of patients suffering with severe mental health problems. By 1992, the hospital was closed after not receiving new patients after 1988. After the closing of Rainhill Lunatic Asylum, the patients were moved to the hospital and it was then repurposed as an asylum. During this time, it housed the infamous criminal Ian Brady, who tortured and killed 5 young boys. From 1997, the building sat unused after it was purchased by a property developer who tried to turn the site into flats, but was defeated by various campaigners. And in 2007, the building was put up for sale, and you can now visit it as an attraction, with ghost hunts organised regularly. With such a varied and turbulent past such as this, the building holding patients in a great deal of turmoil due to mental health difficulties, and also allegedly poor treatment and neglect of the children in the orphanage's care, not to mention the amount of deaths that would have occurred while it was a hospital, it's perhaps no surprise that a number of stories about ghosts and hauntings have cropped up concerning the property and its grounds. With a number of resident ghosts, there's no shortage of stories about people seeing spectres and hearing ghoulish sounds while visiting Newtown. The first being the alleged ghosts of the former child residents. People visiting Newtown have reported seeing full-bodied apparitions of small children. It is said that spirits linger on in a place where great suffering has occurred, and it sounds like these children sadly did indeed suffer at the hands of the orphanage's staff. There is one story of a young orphan who was sent to a punishment cupboard. His screams were heard loudly until they fell silent. The nurses assumed that he had fallen asleep, but when the cupboard was opened the next day, they found him dead. While this harrowing story has not been confirmed, here is what former resident Phyllis Gallimore had to say when interviewed about the orphanage. "They weren't fussy how they punished you. It was really cruel." From what Phyllis has said, it sounds like it would only take one sadistic person abusing their power over children to cause harm and neglect, and perhaps even death. Other so-called resident ghosties would be a matron from the orphanage times and Stephen, a young man who died in the 1920s of a lung condition. As well as seeing apparitions, visitors have also reported hearing sounds of dragging noises, crying and screaming, and even growling near their ears. Also reported are pulling of hair by unseen hands, doors slamming, tables moving on their own, breath on the back of people's necks, and bizarrely, a spectral horse seen making its way through the ground floor wards. There have in fact been a series of strange and creepy deaths in the building and around the grounds. In 1878, a chimney sweep, William Holland, was found underneath the ice in a lake. Allegedly, 2 other people were also found dead in the lake at different times. In 1880, again found in the lake, was a man who had slit his own throat with a razor. Someone is said to have hanged themselves in a bell tower, and a nurse who, interestingly, claimed to see spirits in the hospital, was found dead on the main staircase. That is all quite a lot of tragic death occurrences to happen at the Newtown Park building, not related to hospital deaths. What's to say some of these poor souls have not yet left Newtown Park, and haunt it to this day. Perhaps known most for being the hiding place of infamous highwayman Dick Turpin, Epping Forest in Essex, England, has its fair share of ghostly tales and spooky associations. If you go into the woods today, you may be in for a big surprise. With reports of disembodied screams, visions of a hooded ghostly figure, and people being pushed by unseen hands, Epping Forest has its fair share of interesting tales. Let's meet some of the many spooky residents thought to haunt the 5,900-acre forest. Firstly, our good friend Dick. Turpin, born 21st of September 1705, was a notorious deer and horse thief, burglar and eventually murderer. Working firstly as a known associate of a deer thief gang operating around Essex in the 1730s, Turpin soon made a name for himself as a highway robber, or more commonly known as a highwayman. Possibly the most famous of these so-called highwaymen, Dick Turpin's name has become synonymous with the image of a masked figure on horseback, relieving rich travellers of their valuables from behind a flintlock pistol. As you may have guessed though, he eventually ran out of luck and met a sticky end. On the 7th of April 1739, he was executed by hanging. Ever the showman, he was said to have bowed to the crowd as he walked to meet his fate. Turpin's spirit is said to have been witnessed by many who visit the forest. In one episode of Most Haunted, host Yvette Fielding claimed that his ghost appeared to her. He then proceeded to guide her and the crew off the beaten path and deep into the forest, where they had to call a forest keeper to come and lead them out again after becoming lost. An area within the forest, Loughton Camp, is also notorious for alleged paranormal activity. Based just outside of Lawton, the site is thought to have been used as an army base by Queen Boudica. Therefore, there are many stories of ghosts of dead soldiers being witnessed. For example, people have claimed to hear drumming and marching come from within the forest, and Loughton Camp in particular. But it's not just noises that come from within the forest. A number of sightings of full-bodied entities have been reported also. During the 1960s, there were numerous reports of two spirits being seen regularly. The two ghosts were said to emerge from a pond area on horseback before riding towards the town and disappearing. A headless horseman is also said to have been seen riding through the forest in broad daylight. Around 300 years ago, a young couple sadly died in a murder-suicide at a different pond within the forest. The pond in question allegedly has a strange effect on some people who stumble across it. It is said that it draws them closer and closer by some unknown force and causes people to commit suicide in its murky depths. A large number of murders are likely to have occurred in and around the forest, with it being an incredibly popular hiding spot for various thieves, highwaymen and criminals. Whether it be criminals losing loyalty and murdering other gang members, or killers burying victims' bodies deep within the wooded area, Epping Forest remains a hot spot for alleged paranormal activity and attracts a great number of people visiting, hoping to witness something otherworldly. Being such a large area, who knows how many more stories will be told of strange spooky goings-on involving Epping Forest. Partly in ruins, Oxford Castle sits proudly on the western side of central Oxford in Oxfordshire. With some of the castle destroyed during the English Civil War in the 17th century, after which it became a prison, the castle now serves as the Oxford Castle and Prison tourist attraction, providing guided tours of the still intact medieval and 18th century portions of the castle. As well as many tourists every year, the castle is also said to have some non-earthly visitors as well. Daughter of Henry I, Empress Matilda was said to be the first ever female monarchy in England's history. Unfortunately, due to this, she faced criticism from her male peers and was assumed unable to cope with the responsibilities involved in being Queen of England. Matilda, however, more than proved herself worthy. During the winter of 1142, she survived a 3-month siege at Oxford Castle from her cousin Stephen, who was, like Matilda, a grandchild of William the Conqueror. With remarkable courage, on a snowy December evening, she wrapped herself in a white cloak to disguise herself amongst the snow, and ice skated across the Thames to the safety of Wallingford Castle. claimed to be Britain's most seen ghost. Often spotted still dressed in a white cloak, Matilda's spirit is said to have been witnessed many a time around the castle. During the prison era of the castle, a new guard spotted the figure dressed in white entering an off-limits area and raised the alarm, only to find out every prisoner was accounted for. Reported often as a strange white mist, Matilda has been seen by a large number of people haunting the castle's staircase, watching the visitors inquisitively. Another active ghost said to haunt Oxford Castle, as well as the surrounding areas, is one Mary Blandy. Mary, born sometime in 1720, poisoned her father Francis Blandy with arsenic. She claimed she thought the arsenic was a love potion that would make her father approve of her relationship with a William Henry Cranston, who it was found was already married and had a child. She was eventually found guilty in a trial and hanged on 6th of April 1752. Mr. Holloway, a guide on one of the ghost tours around the castle, claims he was visited by the angered spirit of Mary Blandy after finishing a tour and while he was getting changed. He states that the door that he firmly closed suddenly burst open with a huge crash. Then, almost immediately afterwards, a nearby fire door did the same. The strange thing is, Mr. Holloway states that it could not have been caused by a sudden draft of wind, as both doors open in different directions. He believes he angered the spirit of Mary Blandy by insulting her appearance, as she is said to have suffered from smallpox. Another playful ghost is that of a perpetually drunk monk named Bernard. Brother Bernard is said to have brewed his beer down in the crypt while those above him prayed. And this is where he is said to do his haunting, with a space in the crypt known to the staff as Bernard's Corner. Often caught by the workers of the castle is the sudden strong smell of alcohol emanating from the crypt. One worker also claims to have seen Bernard sitting down the crypt watching her, but when looking again he had vanished. Another time, on one of the ghost tours, one of the visitors had a guide dog with them. For most of the tour the dog was calm and peaceful, but just before entering the crypt area, the dog became aggressive and loud and started barking towards the crypt. This spooked the rest of the tour greatly. There are some that believe the crypt-dwelling spirit known as Bernard is actually a more malevolent entity, disguising itself as the drunken monk. Whatever it is down there, it is definitely considered one of the more evil spirits that haunt the ruined castle. So, if you're a tourist or UK local and have visited any of these sites yourself and made acquaintance with any of the ghosts mentioned, or even some other ones I haven't mentioned here, feel free to tell your story in the comments, as I love to hear them. I hope you enjoyed the video and look forward to researching more spooky happenings with you soon.